Marcus.
Hey.
Hey, what's going on, man?
What's happening? Jimmy Brown from Brick, my man.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, man, everything's good. Everything's good. I'm up here in Chicago.
Good,
yeah.
Yeah, everything's looking good.
Yeah, I'm sure the weather's nicer down there than it is up here.
Oh, look at here, man. Look at it. It's nice and clear, a clear day.
Yeah, I actually lived in Atlanta for about 4.5 years. I was there from 2008 to like late 2012.
Oh, man.
Yep,
So
matter of fact,
cold.
yeah, but what's funny, I saw you all live in concert in 2011. You all were, it was Kiss 104.1. You all had a concert. I guess it's an annual thing they do. It was out in Stone Mountain.
That's right.
Yeah,
So
and I got a chance to check you all out.
Yeah, man.
So I want now. First of all, I want you to know now. I host a show called The Best of the 90s. You know, I'm playing all the 90s R&B and hip hop stuff. But I am first and foremost a 70s guy, funk in particular. Okay. Funk always comes first. I listen to a lot of stuff. I listen to rock, jazz, disco, but funk is the base because I got into the funk when it was happening in the 70s. I was a little bitty kid.
In the 70s.
Yeah. And in the 90s, in the early 90s, I started doing radio in college in 92.
Okay, 92.
Yeah,
okay.
and in 93, I started hosting a show called The Best of the Old School, where I was playing all the funk and R&B stuff because that was, when the sampling was happening real heavy.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I was playing your music on those shows I did in college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. While people were sampling the stuff, and in some cases even before they started using it.
It does, man. That's out there, I tell you, man.
Yeah. And you all, Brick is one of my favorite bands, man. So I had to take this chance to talk to you, man.
Well, love it, though. Well, thank you so much, too.
Yeah, and I know your catalog, brother. So definitely. So the first thing I got to ask you, I need you to clear something up for me. Okay, Okay. The origins of the name of the band, I've heard two different stories. I heard that originally you all were called Acapulco Brick, and you shortened it to Brick, and that's why the album cover was Good High and all that. But then I heard the story that you all got it from, you all were in the backyard of one of the members' houses.
Right. That's how it actually came about. It came about with Reggie Hawkins.
Okay.
Reggie is the lead guitar player for the group.
Right.
And he came up with the name. What happened was he was just looking in the backyard, and there was a pile of bricks in the backyard. Something some people had been working on or whatever, but they had a pile of bricks back there. And he looked at it and he said, it hit him. He said, man, that would be the name for this group we're trying to put together. And it came up Brick.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
That's how it came up.
Okay, good. I'm glad you cleared that up. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's my understanding that you all got signed to a local label down there and put out the single Musicmatic and with Good High on the back.
Okay, actually, we actually started with Mainstream Records.
Yeah, okay.
That was the main, it was called Mainstream, and actually what it was three fellas, three white fellas. Jim Healy, Jim Healy was one of them, and then we had two other fellas, that was working with us on the project. Okay. But anyway, it was over a Main Street Records down in College Park. It was over a 5 and 10 cent store upstairs, and they had like an 8-track machine. And actually, Reggie was the one that said, "Man, listen." They knew him, and he said, "Man, we need to go up there and record." Because I had a jazz band at the time, and I was playing, playing, and Ray was in the bass, the bass player that played with us. But anyway, we went up there every Wednesday and started recording. And the guys up there, Jim Healy was the other guy, and then Johnny Duncan, that was the other guy. They heard what we were doing. They They loved it, man. They said, well, we need to go on this main street. We need to go on and get this thing and start doing something. But anyway, Jim Healy was the one that came up with the name Daz. Okay. He came up with the name Daz. And Reggie had the music, so, we put it all together. And the guys, they wanted me to come in as the instrumentalist, okay, playing instrumental and singing along with the group, stuff like that. So anyway, I did that with them. And Daz came up. So they put Daz out. Actually, it was a song before that, that they put out. But Daz came, and when Daz came out, it came out pretty strong. So anyway, they signed up with Bang Records, okay, with Bang. That's how we came about with Bang. Bang was the label. Eileen Burns was her name. She was the one that actually pushed it out there. And when it came out, a lot of the disc jockeys across the country were saying, well, man, this is more like jazz, and whatever. Said a lot of them were saying it wouldn't go. But anyway, they started playing it, and when they started playing it, hey, everybody wanted to hear disco jazz, disco jazz, and that's how I jumped off.
Yeah, and it's funny because I remember my mom talking about how much she liked that song. And
ain't that something?
Yeah. I mean,
everybody would tell me the same thing. That's in my age range.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody would say, man, my mom or my dad, man, they love that.
Yeah. And I remember seeing the record over my uncle's house, and I mean, and it was a #1 record. I mean, #1 for 4 weeks. R&B. You got into the top 5 on the pop chart.
Pop charts.
But this is the stat that knocks me out though the most. The Good High album knocked Stevie Wonder out of the #1 spot for a week. And not just any Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. A lot of people consider that to be the greatest R&B album ever.
Good gracious alive. I didn't even have no idea of that.
Yeah, you all knocked Stevie out the top for a week. Now, Stevie came back the next week, but that's Stevie, so you understand that.
But that's Stevie, though. Yeah, he came back, but ain't that something?
Yeah, but for you all to hit #1, and really just off the strength of the one song, because, that was the only big hit single from it.
Right. Gotcha.
But I want to ask you a little more about the album, because this is one of my favorite albums, period. So you all had some great tracks on there. Now, I don't know if you remember, James Brown apparently used to have a TV show called Future Shock.
Yes, we were actually on Future Shock.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense, because see, I got a couple of DVDs of the show. And in one of the episodes, he played Southern Sunset for the kids to dance to. I noticed that. So the official second single was That's What It's All About, the slow cut that ends the album. But were any of the other tracks considered to be the next single to follow up to Daz instead of that one?
Well, let me see now. If I'm not mistaken, Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody. Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody?
No, that's the next album.
Oh, the next,
But Good High, we got Here We Come, Musicmatic, which you all had already put out, Daz, then Can't Wait, Southern Sunset, Good High, which was the B-side of Musicmatic, then Brick City, Sister Twister, and then That's What It's All About.
Oh, yeah, I remember those particular songs on there. Now, but Daz was actually our biggest.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, but now the next one I would say would be Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody, because Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody it was a real strong song for us.
Oh yeah.
When it came out, everybody was talking about Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody. Yeah. So and then from that they started talking about a Doozy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing they started talking about, we don't want to sit down.
Yeah. See, that's all on the second album. We gonna get to that in just a second. That's because that's a whole other level right there. But on the Good High album, one thing I love about that era with the bands is how a lot of you all did songs on the albums where you showed off your chops just as a band without singing, just doing an instrumental. Like I know Earth, Wind and Fire, they did one on almost every album they did, and you all had what I consider one of the most unheralded instrumentals of the era with Brick City. Like, talk about that song in particular, because it seemed like each person in the band got a chance to really show off, and you did like 3 or 4 solos on that record.
There you go. That's right. That was the thing about the band. All the guys they all went to college, and we all were music magic. Music majors, in other words. We, we were into instruments anyway. Bass player was into the lead guitar was like that. And myself, being a horn man like myself, I had the chance to be able to go on and play my instruments. That was one of the main things in the band, was being able to get in there and play all my instruments. It's actually one song and everything we did, and that was Happy.
Oh, okay.
And Happy, I got the chance to play all of my instruments except for my sax. I got the chance to play the trombone, I got the chance to play the flute, and the trumpet.
Right.
In that particular song. But it was that. It was always, we wanted to people to stretch the instruments out, so people could hear that. Because everybody hear vocals all the time.
Yeah.
But to be into the R&B thing like we were, we wanted them to be able to hear that too. That's what it was. Yeah,
because that Brick City, I mean, you all definitely did that. I mean, that's probably my favorite song on that first album. Is Brick City.
Yep, that's right. You're right about that.
Yeah. And Southern Sunset too. That's another instrumental that you all did.
That's another good one, Southern Sunset. That's right.
Yeah. So all that stuff is great, man. I mean, I love that first album. However, the second album, the self-titled one, that's an all-time classic. That's one of those classics where the average person listening to music now may not hear that much about it, but anybody who collects records or is an aficionado, and definitely anybody who was into things back then, knows that second album, that is an all-time killer. Like, every single song is just a knockout on this record.
Oh, okay.
So now here's the thing. The first single was Doozic. So talk about that real quick. Just Doozic as the main follow-up to Daz. That was the next big hit you all had.
Okay, Doozic. Okay. During that particular time, we had in mind of something that would come close to, Daz or something close, of Doozic. So just a different name. Mm-hmm. So that's actually it came up that way. We kept thinking and thinking. We said, you know what, Doozic is a good name for a song. It's just like that, Mainly, that's the way it is. I find out in music a lot of times. You come up with ideas, you come up with it, and then everybody will say, "Yeah, man, that'll work." That's a good Doozic, yeah. Then from that point, we came up, with the changes, all the changes in the song, okay, and then we said Doozic. That's a fucking thing. Everybody, Doozic. And said, oh, okay. And before we knew it, we had it. And then we came. We said, you know what? We need to put Jimmy on flute in there. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, it came up that way.
Yeah, and that's another big hit too. That got to number 2, stayed there for 3 weeks. So that's a solid hit. Now let me ask you this. Now, after you all did the first album, I mean, obviously you were on Soul Train, you were on Don Kirshner the Rock Concert, Midnight Special, and you were on tour with some of the other bands at that time. Did most of the grooves you came up with for the second album, did those come from when you all were out on the road, like maybe in sound check or anything like that? Or did you all wait until you got to the studio and then try to come up with stuff that way?
No, I'm going to give you an idea of it. One time we were doing a job in Mosley Park. Mm-hmm. We were doing a job there. So a lot of people was out there, and we were on stage. So before we got started, it was a young guy standing up front. He said, all right, man, y'all need to get on. Y'all need to come on up now. Just saying that, man, I heard him. Mm-hmm. And he said, you know what, we don't want to sit down, we want to get down. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So I heard him say that. I said, well, man, I can't, I can't. To myself, I was thinking, and then it hit me. And it just hit me just like that. We don't want to sit down, we want to get down.
Now, did it typically happen that way? Did you all normally have titles first and then try to come up with music?
No, that actually hit me that way. We don't want to sit down. We want to get down, and that stuck in my head. Mm-hmm. So when it did, I said, you know what? We don't want to sit down. We want to get down. And that then right after that, I called the bass player. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I said, we don't want to sit down. We want to get down. He said, doom 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 doom. Doom, 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 doom. He did that. Mm-hmm. And I said, we don't want to sit down. We want to get down right on top of it. Just like that.
Okay.
And before we knew it, we had it. I had the flutes on, we had everything. And it was a chant. Anyway, we said, well, that's what it is. We don't want to sit down. We want to get down. That young boy gave it to me.
And it's funny because a lot of great funk songs were pretty much chants, crowd participation, right. Sing along with it.
That's right.
That's the funk though, so that makes total sense.
There you go. And that's how that came about.
Okay.
And a lot of our songs are basically, they came like that, us, being together. Some of them would be on the road, and they just come up to you like that. And it's surprising though, how when you be together like that and things that come up,
Yeah.
So
yeah. Now talk about now what's interesting to me. Okay, so Duzik was the first single from the second album, but
Duzik was the first single you said.
Yeah, it was the first single from the second album, but. Right. Soon as the album came out, radio stations immediately jumped on Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody. I mean, it's the first song on there, and I guess they heard it say, oh, yeah, this is a hit right here. And they played that immediately.
Right. They did. That's the one they jumped on.
Right. Yeah. So was there ever any thought of having Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody be the first single and then Duzik second, or was it just always going to be the way it turned out?
It turned out the way it was supposed to turn out.
Okay.
And also, it was strong, like you said, when Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody came out. I mean, that was it. I mean, that it took over.
Yeah. I mean,
it did.
That's it. But it's interesting to me because I do a lot of chart research, because I'm a historian, and one of the things I noticed in the 70s, a lot of times some of the bigger hits that we know were not the first single off the album. A lot of times it might have been another song that came first that was a hit, and then the album dropped, the radio stations played the song, and then the next single come out. And if you don't understand, like I learned how to interpret the charts, because a lot of times the song that got higher up might not have been the bigger hit than the one that maybe didn't get as high. So
that's right.
Yeah, like Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody got up to like number 7. But if you look at the dates on when it was released several months after the album was already out. So it was already an established hit when it was released as a single. Another good example of that, another song that came out the same year from the Commodores, Brick House. Brick House, that's a classic. Brick House was not a number one hit. But
you know, a lot of people took the Commodores for us.
Oh, really?
Let me see how I could put that. When you say, when they say brick, or they say, oh, that's a brick house.
Oh,
that's
okay.
what they were saying.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You know.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then we say, no, it's not that. It's brick. It ain't gonna hurt nobody. Our dad. Then they don't understand who it is. But that went on for a long time.
I can see that. I can see that people making that. I mean, when you got great music by great bands, I can see people getting stuff mixed up. So I understand it.
Man, listen, it's the same thing with the Dad's band.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that later on. Yeah,
that came around with the same thing. When you say the Dad's band, if you say it's brick, they say, "Oh, that's the Dad's band."
Right.
No, that ain't the Dad's band. That's brick.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, but it's a lot. It's different now, though. It's, you know, as the years went by.
Yeah. Now we can't talk about "Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody" without talking about Reggie and that guitar solo. Like, to me, that's the one song that really shows his chops.
Man. Look at him. That's a classic, without a doubt. His guitar playing is just unreal. You know, Reggie. I mean, you know, I really, really miss Reggie. You know, I miss him because, see, Reggie and I was in the band for 40-some years.
Right.
Okay, it's been 40-some years. And Reggie and I, we never had an argument.
Mm.
We never had an argument. We never, in the long displacement between the two of us in all the years. You know, in all the years now. So, you know, I just flat out miss him, you know, but his talent was just unreal. He was the one that came up with the song that Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Reggie wrote that. Okay, Daz came up with him writing. You know, we did writing together. I came up with Happy. You know, I came up with We Don't Want to Sit Down. You know, I came up with that. And we have the writers, you know, like that. But I'm just talking about the guys that actually wrote the stuff.
Yeah.
Reggie had that thing, and he was a strong guitar player. He could play rhythm, come back with lead, and all kind of stuff, man. This guy was just unreal of the way he played. And he played his guitar upside down.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He played his guitar upside down. All his strings were reversed.
Oh, okay. Well, that's something for the guitar players out there to know. Okay.
I'm trying to tell you now. He was just that, like that. And his favorite was Jimi Hendrix. He came up. He came up that way with Jimi Hendrix type stuff. And he had those phrases and stuff like that, but he had his own idea of how he wanted to phrase his music and how he played solo. So it was just unreal.
Yeah, that solo on Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody, it has a very, like, a liquidy kind of sound. It's like the sound overall for you all, I call it water fountain funk. You know, it's got a fresh feel to it, you know, but it's strong. It's real. And that solo he played, it typifies that. You know, it doesn't sound like anything else I've ever heard from anybody.
Nothing else that you ever heard.
Yeah. Now, another song, now you mentioned it already, We Don't Want to Sit Down, We Want to Get Out. That was actually a hit for you all as well, but it wasn't released as a single. So
no.
Why was that the case? Why wasn't that the third single from the album?
It's kind of, it was a kind of, you know, a different thing happening with the group, with that. You know, different things happening to us with producers. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I think that may have had the problem because we, you know, I didn't want to do it. But you know how that money thing is now.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? And how people want to go and want to do things. But it was changes that was going on. And the changes went with Bang. We left Bang to go to CBS.
Right, Bang got distributed by CBS, yeah, because they still had the label on there, but it's definitely CBS, yeah.
It's CBS. Okay, all went down and different things happened with that. I really didn't want to do it because I always felt that when you get other producers and stuff like that, and it did happen, we weren't producing ourselves anymore. And I told him, I said, well, man, we don't need to do that. So finally, it came to a point where, we said, but man, it's just that, that's not going to work. I knew it wasn't going to work because at the time, Prince was there, Earth, Wind & Fire was there, then us, and just different things. I said, man, we don't need, so Ray Parker Jr., they put Ray Parker Jr. on us, and Ray brought us up to Sweat Till You Get Wet.
Yeah. Well, now we're going to talk about that in a minute. Yeah, we're going to get to that one.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So, but I'm just saying that type of thing is what was going on, and that's why that we don't want to say that. That's why we didn't put that down as the next thing.
Okay. Now, before we leave the second album, one song, I love the whole Living from the Mind, Happy, Hello, but one song I got to ask you about because it is in my top 10 all-time favorites, and I'm not just saying that because I actually put this in a book. It was number 9, is the song Fun. Okay. That wasn't a single. Fun. Yeah, it was a B-side on the 12-inch version of music.
Yeah, Fun. That was a good song. That was a song that Reggie wrote, and this girl, I can't think of her name. She did it. Yeah,
I was going to ask you about that because the female vocals are real prominent on there.
Yeah, she got a Grammy or something that did. I'm trying to think of her name, but anyway, it became real strong for her. Reggie wrote that Fun, but Fun, I love that song, man.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of rappers and rap producers love it too because it's been sampled a bunch of times.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah, but that is one of my all-time favorites. And the thing I love about that song, well, it has like a reggae feel to it. For one,
that's what it did. It got that from it. Yeah. Actually, that's what it is. Don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that reggae. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the reggae feel, but I also love that it kind of typifies the era to me because it doesn't spell out what the fun is. It's like you kind of get to make up use your own imagination of what is
your fun is.
Yeah, what are they talking about in this scenario? It's suggestive, but it doesn't tell you. And that was one of the cool things about music at that time. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
I had to give props to Fun because that's when I first got that album. I had the record, but when it came out on CD. And I got the CD. When that song went in, I automatically hit repeat and play it again. Because it's a shorter song too. So I'm like, oh no, I got to play that again. So,
right. You got to play it.
Yeah. So I had to give props to the Fun. Okay, so you all, the third album, Stoneheart, you ended up getting distributed by CBS. So I'm assuming was it the record company's idea for you all to no longer record in Atlanta to go out to California to record for that album?
Yeah, that's what it was. We went out to California, and that was like 4 months of work, out there and getting the album, all that stuff together. And Ray Parker was working with us, and so we got that album together. But like I said, the Sweat Till You Got Wet was the one that actually did something, because it went to the pop chart. I don't know whether it was number 10 or something.
Yeah, that's actually still a couple of albums away because the Stoneheart that's actually Bill Schnee.
Stoneheart.
Bill Schnee produced that one.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. You're right. Right. That's right.
And that one didn't work out as well. But then you all did the Waiting on You album.
Right. And Waiting on You.
And I noticed one name that jumps out at me is Phil Benton because he's listed as producer on the second album. And then you all got back together with him for the fourth one with Push Push. And
that's right.
All the Way and Get Started, which is a great track.
Phil, that's right.
Yeah, so talk to me about Phil Benton because it seemed like you all were able to recapture the original sound you had on that fourth album with Phil.
Yeah, but see, Phil, Phil was with us for some time through the music. Mm-hmm. Okay, we were actually going over to Phil's and recording different musics and stuff like that, and just checking that stuff. And so Phil knew the sound, mm-hmm. and he had a great idea of our music. And so he knew, like whenever we recorded something like that, he knew exactly, in another sense, he was like a producer too. Okay, and recording. So that's why Phil was around, knowing, exactly, what brick, what should sound like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, he knew this. And whenever we recorded something, that's why we wound up going back to Phil.
Okay, well, that was a good move because you got some good. Yeah. Free is another great track on that. The first one on side 2.
There you go.
That's
nice. You calling out some songs I
ain't heard. I told you, I know the catalog now. I got the records right here now. Yeah,
you know.
And now talk to me about Push because I remember that. Because, like I say, I'm in Chicago, so whenever I heard it, it always reminded me of Operation Push with Jesse Jackson.
Right, yeah, that Push, yeah.
Yeah, but, so talk about Push, that song, because that was a hit for you.
Okay, Push was a song that I actually came up. Mm-hmm. I wrote, I was a writer on that.
Right.
And Push, was a thing at that particular time. I was thinking, I said, Push. I was thinking about the band. Mm-hmm. We need to push.
Right.
Don't stop. Keep pushing. Keep on pushing. And that was in my mind. And so that's actually how I came up with that. With the song.
Okay.
That's what that was.
Yeah. That and Get Started. That's another one I love too. Though.
Oh yeah, Get Started. Yeah. That was a good one too. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So then the next record you all did is where you hooked up with Ray Parker Jr. for Summer Heat.
Summer Heat.
Yeah, that album.
Yeah.
How did you all end up linking up with Ray Parker Jr.?
Okay, the reason we got with Ray Parker Jr. was he was Ray was doing his own thing because he was actually producing some other acts and stuff, right?
Right.
And they were doing pretty good stuff he was working with. So CBS, they were the ones that said, well, you know what, Ray Parker Jr., he need to get with them. He need to work with Brick. We think that'll work out good. So it fell into that pocket,
Okay, that's interesting because he was signed to Arista.
There you go. That's right. But and that's how it hooked up. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and so we got with him, and it worked out good working with him, and everything, and the thing about it, working with him, he started picking up Reggie's lines.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean? It's like that. He was playing it. Red got a certain kind of way he played his guitar stuff, but then he heard some of Red's stuff, and I think putting that together, that's how we came up with "Sweat Till You Get Wet." Okay,
yeah, and that was a top 10 hit for you.
There you go. That's what I'm. It's something else how things work like that, but it do.
Yeah, you all had a couple of other great tracks on that album too. Seaside Vibes.
Seaside Vibe was a good one. That was a good song.
Yeah, the title track, Summer Heat.
Yeah, Summer Heat, man. I mean, good song.
Yeah, Right Back Where I Started From. That's a nice one.
Right Back. Good songs on it,
Yeah. Now, you all also had a change in the band for that album. So Donald Nevins, the original keyboard player, wasn't there. And he wasn't there. Yeah. We had Ambrick Bridgeforth. Right.
Yeah, we had Ambrick Bridgeforth in there. Ambrick, very talented musician. We had him in there, and he came right on in and did the job. you know, and he also Seaside Vibes.
Mm-hmm.
That that sound, it sound like it in the background. It sound like a seagulls.
Yeah,
that's him.
Oh, really?
He did that.
Okay.
He put the sound in there, and played it. But he's a real good musician, man.
Okay. Yeah. And then you all had the After 5 album where you got the tuxedos on.
Right.
Yeah. Now, music was changing at that time. It's 82, so the sound is a little different, but you still had a couple of nice tracks on here. Free Dancer.
Yeah. Free Dancer was a good one.
Yeah, that was a single. Yeah. And I like that last instrumental track on there, Anymore.
Yeah, Anymore. Now that particular track right there, that's Ambrick Birsford. He came up with that track.
Okay.
Anymore, that's Ambrick. And a lot of people like that song.
Yeah. It's not, and it's a surprise too, because you didn't really hear any more instrumentals too often in that era. By the time you got to 82.
Right. That's right. Yeah, you're right about that. But it had a thing to it. Yeah, Ambrick came up with a strong one on that.
Yeah,
that's a nice song. Yeah,
definitely. So now you all ended up, taking a break and everything. But in the 90s, like I said earlier, the funk started coming back, the 70s started coming back, bands getting back together and all of that.
Right. We weren't actually playing. We weren't. Man, look at it. It was close to 20 years.
Mm.
Not really. I know at least close to that. Not playing. Brick wasn't playing.
Right.
I had other bands and stuff I was doing, and playing with other groups during that time. And in fact, me and this keyboard player, I'm doing computer stuff now. I'm doing a lot of stuff on computer, and it's just me and the keyboard player right now.
Okay.
And but we play, but it sounds like it's 9 or 10 of us.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because even in the original version of the band, it was only 5 of you all, which was rare for most of the bands. The black bands, it wasn't no less than 7 people.
Right. It's only 5 of us.
But
see, it was the sound that we were doing. Reggie was the one that came up with that sound that we had. Reggie had 5 guitars behind him. Then he had 2 Leslies that you jack up on the stage on each sound, on each side of the stage. Reggie sounded like a band by itself.
Okay.
You had the bass player, you got the drummer. You know what I mean? Myself and Reg had only 5. But it was just unreal with the way it sounded, the power we had. Yeah,
and I got to give some props to your drummer and bass player too, Eddie Irons and Ray Ransom from the original.
There you go.
Because that was a great rhythm section, just the 2 of them, in addition to Reggie.
Just the 2 of them. Just the 2 of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was outside.
And then in all reality, most bands back then had horn sections, but you handled that by yourself. You had all the horns.
That's right. I had all the horns.
Yeah, so y'all didn't even need no whole horn section. You knocked that out by yourself.
Whenever we recorded, we did horn sections. I played the horn sections.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I played all the parts, and so we had all that in there. And then when we need the solos, I come up and play the solos.
Right. Okay. Now talk to me real quick about just being out on the road in the 70s. Like, I love collecting rare concert footage. Unfortunately, I haven't come across any entire Brick concerts that were filmed. Just, pieces of you all on TV. But talk about just the whole circuit of touring back there with all those great bands. What was that like, that energy?
The energy was real strong with Brick during that time. When we go on stage, it was very strong. A lot of people wanted us, and in front of us, a lot of them didn't want to come on. I mean, I'm just telling you, you know exactly what it was, being out there on the road and stuff. And being on the road like that, it's a lot of energy going on. I'll never forget when we played in Atlanta, at a stadium in Atlanta, and it was 63 people there. I mean, 63,000 people there. That was the biggest thing that ever happened, us playing in front, you know, of a group. And they had a canopy out there. They took the canopy off so everybody could see us around. And just being out there and playing with energy like that, man, that is unreal. It's a different thing to be on stage and playing out there. It's nothing like it to me, you know. And I always say that's why I always thank God, man, for what's happening for me in my life and what I have seen, because I have seen some energy.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I have, being out there playing with guys and I love playing with other groups too. You know, I love all the bands we play with, all the different people. There's been a bunch of them. But I love playing with other, you know, groups and stuff like that. And it's always good to have good vibes with everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
That's one of the main things. Always have good vibes with people and get along with them, and things will work out for you.
Was there any band in the 70s that you saw live that surprised you, that like when you saw them live, like, man, these guys are even better than I thought they would be? Was there anybody like that?
It was different groups, you know, like that I ran into. I guess kind of hard to say,
okay.
Really, but I'm thinking one of the groups, you know, live like that, was the Gap Band.
Oh, okay.
The Gap Band, they were pretty strong to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I saw them live, you know what I mean, like that. They surprised me. They really did, and they did a great. You know, I liked them. They did a great job. The lead singer, what's the lead singer?
Charlie Wilson.
Yeah, Charlie and them. They were good.
Yeah, he coming to town. He'll be here this Saturday. Matter of fact, he touring with our New Edition in Jodeci.
Well, I bet don't. Ain't that something?
Right.
And I like him, man, because, you know, talking to him, you know, he was like, he's down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of guys I ran into that wasn't. I ain't gonna speak no names.
Oh, no.
But there's a lot of them like that. But he is down to earth, and I like him, man.
Okay. Now, in terms of just records, not live, but was there any band who, when you heard their records, they like made you really want to create, like, oh man, let's smoke it. I got to come over with something. We got to do something. You know, these cats are doing it. Was there anybody like that who, you know, caught your attention?
I never know. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I never ran into that. You know, I guess it's where your mind is and what we were trying to create.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Our minds were always into the brick situation.
Okay.
Or what we needed to get out there and do.
Right.
So, you know, I ain't never really thought about it like that. You know, it's always been for brick.
Okay. Were there any other bands who were just, you know, bands you liked, just hearing their records?
Yeah. There are other bands that I like. You know, I like their sound. I like that group on Let It Whip. Oh,
that's the Daz Band.
Right, that's the Daz Band. I like the Daz Band sound. I like their sound.
Okay.
I also liked the Isley Brothers.
Oh yeah, who don't like them?
Come on. Yeah, I like the Isley Brothers. You know, and you know, it's a bunch of them that I, you know, sort of liked. You know, other groups. You know, but those are one. You know, a couple of them I like. You know.
Okay. Now, one thing that's really unique about Brick, and you in particular, that even when you all stopped performing, when the 90s came around, by the time you got to the mid-90s and going into the 2000s, your presence was still out there through your son. A lot of people may not know your son is Sleepy Brown, who sang the hook on Outkast records, Players Ball, and I Like the Way You Move, and So Fresh and So Clean, and all that stuff. How was that for you? How did that impact you, him having that success with Outkast?
You know, to me, it's real strong to me. You know, because when I listened to him, I said, well, now, I said, boy, you know, you're blessed. He came out, you know, the way he did, because he came out as a dancer. You know, he started dancing first before he started singing and all that stuff. But you know, I'm thankful for him, you know, and what's happening with him. And he and I have done some shows together. He, you know, anytime he want to do shows and stuff, that he want me to come on, and he like dance. Mm-hmm. He want me to do dance with him. So we've done shows together, and we've done dance together, you know, stuff like that. And but I'm just flat out happy for him, you know, the things that he's doing, and him and Big Boy, they got a new record out now, and you know, it's going real good for him. I'm happy for him.
Okay, cool. Well, hey Jimmy, I wanna thank you for your time. I appreciate the talk. Like I said, Brick is one of my all-time favorite bands.
Well, thank you too.
Those first two albums are among my all-time favorite. Matter of fact, the second album, when I did years ago, I did my top 120 something albums, and that second album was like number 13.
Oh man.
Yeah, so ain't too many albums ahead of that I put ahead of that, man. I mean, I love that record.
Man. Well, I really appreciate that too, Marcus.
Yeah. So thanks for all the music. Thanks for all your musical contributions, and whatever you got going on in the future, you know, definitely let us know, and good luck with it, and just keep it going.
You know, I have one thing to say. I have which people will be seeing pretty soon. It's out now. They call me Dad. Okay. I have a single that's out there. They call me Dad. It's also on YouTube. Right there. I got it's the video on that. They call me Dad. Yeah, so you can check that out. And all the songs, all the group is doing right now. We got some dates coming up. They could go to thebandbrick.com. You can go on there. You can see all of the different places we get ready to play. Okay, great. And just so you know, I know you were part of the recent Unsung the Decades episode about the 70s. Right. And I was it's funny because I was in the 80s and I'm in the 90s and 2000s. The 70s were the only one I wasn't in. But I advocated a long time ago for you all to get your own episode. You know? Right. Well, I tell you, it was really nice doing it this past time here, you know, from the 70s. And I was looking at TV and they were saying it's coming on again on this coming Saturday morning. It'll be back on at 10 o'clock a.m. Yeah, they gonna rerun them now. They they gonna replay them shows. You ain't never got to worry about that because I've been in 18 of them, and not even including this one. And people think I've been in all of them because a lot of the ones I was in keep coming on. Right. Like even the other night, Switch and the Dramatics was on before the Decade shows, and I was in both of them. You know. Oh man, yeah, you've been rolling. Yeah, and I mean we filmed that back in 2017. So yeah, they gonna rerun them episodes. If people watch those episodes and they do well, the TV One is going to rerun them again. That ain't never gonna be no issue. That's wonderful. Yeah, that's great. So hopefully one day they'll come around. Normally it's up to the network. It's got to be a production company, the network, and the artists that want to do them. Normally, it's the network that may be hesitant because they looking at ratings and revenue, and is this artist gonna get the audience? They don't. It's no formula to it though, so they can never rule anything out. But hopefully, there you go. You all be able to get your own episode in full, and get to see the whole Brick story. And Unsung. That's it. Right, they can see the whole story. That's great. All right, but hey, again, thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, man. All right, take care. All right, take care.